All right, guys, so we've got a test coming up. It's very similar to this review, and if you don't remember the last test, it was almost exactly like the review. You might think of this one as almost the same thing. So the first question says, find the vertex algebraically, and then what's the axis of symmetry? Notice it says you must show your work for credit. I'm going to show you in a minute how to do these on your calculator. This is the algebraic method. To find the axis of symmetry, it's always x equals, and then it's negative b over 2a. So your axis of symmetry is going to be x equals some number. All we have to do is plug our numbers in. So I need to find out what a is and what b is. Well, a is here, negative 2. B is here, it's 8. Now all we have to do is plug those numbers in. So I'm going to have negative times 8 over 2 times negative 2. So all we have to do now is our arithmetic, and we'll have it. A negative times 8 is negative 8. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Now you're going to use that to find your vertex, because the x we just found is the x value in our vertex. So we need to take this 2 and plug it in for our x's. So I have negative 2 times 2 squared plus 8 times 2 plus 3. Now you need to put that in your calculator very carefully. Once you do, you should get 11. So our vertex is the point 2, 11. And remember, guys, the vertex is like the transition point from going up to down or down to up. The axis of symmetry is the line that goes through that point. So guys, neither of those things were very hard. You just have to remember, so be careful. Now let's look at the next part. The next part is almost completely calculator. So when you're doing this, and it says it right at first, graph the equation on your calculator. So I'm going to get out my calculator, maybe, and I'm going to put that equation into y equals. Let's see. It is x squared plus 5x, and it is minus 14. Oops, not 44. Oh, man. How about negative 2x squared, keep forgetting it, plus 5x minus 14. I'm going to graph it. So that's what your graph should look like. And the first thing we need to do is find the X-Intercepts. Well, guys, you've got to be careful here. The X-Intercepts, the solutions, and the factors are all related. If you miss one, you can easily miss them all. Now, to find X-Intercepts, you're going to put your equation into y1. That's what we've already done. And you have to have 0 in y2 or none of this will work. So I'm going to hit 0, I'm going to go into y2, and I'm going to put in 0. Now you won't see that because that's the x-axis, but you have to have it there to find the intercepts. Once you have those in, you hit second trace, and we're going to go to intersect, which is 5. Now you're going to have to do this twice because it looks like I have 2 times I'm hitting the x-axis. So I'm going to move all the way over to one of them. It doesn't matter which one is first. So I went over to the one on the left side and I hit enter 3 times. Once you do that, it should say the intersection at the bottom and give you a point. The first point is negative 7, 0. Now there's another one, so I'm going to do it a second time. Second trace 5. I'm going to move all the way over to the right side. And hit enter 1, 2, 3 times. And it gives me another intersection of 2, 0. If you don't put 0 into y2, that will not work. Remember, it's second trace and 5. Now we can use those x-intercepts to find all the solutions and the factors. Solutions and x-intercepts are the same thing. It's just in this one we're saying what the x values are. Well, they were negative 7 and 2. I don't know why I put that little line on there. So if you get the x-intercepts right, there's no reason to miss the solutions. But say you missed the x-intercepts, but you still used your incorrect x values on solutions, I'd give you credit. Now factors are like writing it backwards. Factors, we're going to have parentheses, we're going to have our x's, but inside of them we do the opposite. So instead of negative 7, we put plus 7, and instead of 2, we put negative 2. If we were to set each of those equal to 0 and solve, we'd get positive, or we'd get negative 7 and positive 2 for our solutions. So that's how you get the x-intercept solutions and factors. It was a few calculator things and then go from there. Now the vertex. We can't see the vertex here because it's off our screen. I'm going to hit zoom 3, enter, and it's going to make my window bigger so I can see it. Well, I can tell how low it goes, but not how high. That means this one has a minimum, so go back into second trace and pick minimum. All you have to do here is follow the directions. It says left bound. I'm going to move to the left of my vertex and hit enter. It changes to right bound, so I'm going to switch over to the right side of my vertex and hit enter, and then hit enter again because I don't want to guess. It gives me the minimum value is negative 2.5 with a little bit of rounding and negative 20.3. So remember, second trace, you don't have to have the y2 equals 0, but you might keep it in there because it's not going to mess you up. You have to choose maximum or minimum. Now the x of symmetry comes right from that. Remember, it's x equals whatever the x value is in the vertex. In this case, negative 2.5. Now, to solve the next part, we've got a table over here. Don't miss the table. Hit second graph, and it gives you the table. When x is negative 6, I can go up to that. I get that y is negative 8. And if I go down to 3, I get that x, or if x is 3, y is 10. Now, before we do domain and range, I need to sketch it, and you've got everything you need to sketch it. What I would suggest for this is use the X-Intercepts and your vertex point. So I'm going to plot over 2, 0 and negative 7, 0. The vertex is negative 2.5, negative 20.3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I go over a little over 2, come down here. There's my graph. Now, it's not perfect. It's a sketch, but I need to see tick marks just so that I know that you know what you were talking about, okay? Now, the last part of this is domain and range. Well, the domain, guys, are the x values, how far left to how far right. These arrows mean keep moving in that direction. So my domain is all real numbers. Now, range deals with the y values, how low to how high. Well, if I look over here, I can't see how high I go, but I can see how low I go. As a matter of fact, I'm going down to negative 20.3. So I'm going to say y and negative 20.3, the y value from the vertex. Well, all of my y's are getting bigger, so I know that y is greater than or equal to negative 20.3. So guys, all that stuff's related. I went kind of long through it. You should be able to get through that fairly quickly. I would look at this right before the test because this is the part you're probably going to have troubles on. Transformations went pretty good. All right, guys, let's go to the next part. Now, the next ones say solve. Guys, solving these is the same as finding the x-intercepts like we did in the last one. So you're going to have to put your equation into y1, and you're going to have to put 0 into y2. You're going to hit second trace, and we're going to use number 5. So guys, to do these, it's strictly calculator. So I'm going to put my first equation into y1. I have 2x squared plus x plus 9. I'm going to keep 0 in y2 because I have to have that. I'm going to look at my graph. Now, it's in a weird view, so I'm going to hit zoom 6 to make it go back to normal. But if I look, the graph is way up here. Well, to have x-intercepts, it has to cross the x-axis. Since it doesn't, that means we have no solutions. So if it ever doesn't cross the x-axis, there are no solutions. Now the next two. Before I can put it in the calculator, guys, I can't have it in this form. I need to get everything on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. I get 2x squared minus 5x minus 12 equals 0. Now we can put that in the calculator. So go back to y1. I have 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. And I'm going to look at it in my graph, okay? So I have the graph in y1, 0 in y2. Hit hit second trace. And again, we're looking for intersections, so we hit 5. Now, move to the first one, whichever one, doesn't matter, and hit enter 1, 2, 3 times. If you do that, at the bottom it should give you one of your points. Looks like negative 1.5, comma 0. Now repeat the process. Second trace, 5, but go all the way over to the other intersection. And hit enter 1, 2, 3 times. You get your other one, which is 4, 0. So all it is straight calculator, okay? Let's look at the last one. This one we got to move several things. I'm going to subtract 8 and add 3x to both sides. So we get 8 or x squared plus 3x minus 8 equals 0. And then I go back and I do the exact same thing. So I put my equation in my calculator. I have x, I'm going to clear it. I have x squared plus 3x minus 8. So I'm crossing the x-axis twice, so I should have 2 answers. So second trace, 5. I'm going to do this one first because I'm closer. Enter, enter, enter. And I get a nice decimal one, which a lot of times on the calculator they are. I got 1.7, 0. And if you can't see those, it's giving them right there. Now, we do the same thing over again. Second trace, 5. Except I'm going to move over to the left one, or whichever one you didn't already do. Almost there. I'm getting there. Now I hit enter 1, 2, 3 times again. I get the point negative 4.70. So guys, those are straight calculator. You should not be having a lot of trouble with those. You just have to follow the directions. All right, guys, now I'm going to do a second video for this one over the transformations, so we'll come back to that one. I want to move to number 25. Number 25. Now, number 25 and 26 are both very easy questions if you remember just a couple of things. And the equations that you need are written on the board. It says, write the equation of a line passing through a point 0.7 and it has a slope of -2. Well, guys, if you look up at the board or on a formula sheet, you'll have a formula called the point slope form. All you have to do is fill it in. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Well, I've got an x1 and a y1 right there, and I have an m in the -2. Plug them in and solve for y. So I have y minus y1, which is 7, equals my slope -2 times x minus x1, which is 0. So that is not a hard thing to fill that in. You just have to do a couple little moves to finish it. First, I have to distribute. So I have y minus 7 equals -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 0 is 0. Now to solve for y, I add 7 to both sides. And you get y equals -2x plus 7. So not a hard problem, but you need to remember, if they say write an equation, you need to look at your formula sheet. Now number 26, if you remember, a formula is also very easy. It says graph the line that has a slope of -1/3 and a y-intercept of 4. Well, now I have a slope and an intercept. I'm going to use slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Well, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. And those are the things they gave us. So I have y equals my m value, -1/3 x, plus b, which is plus 4. Now, if you need to do that, now you can put it in your calculator and look. But guys, if it has a y-intercept of 4, that means it crosses at 4 on the y-axis. It has a slope of -1/3. That's down and to the right. Down 1, right 3. So whether you use your calculator to graph it or just do it like that, it's still a fairly easy question one way or the other. All right, let's keep going. Domain and range. We're going to do the first 2 of these. And you got to remember, guys, domain means x's, or left to right. Range means y's, which is up to down. So if I look at the first one, I have this line that's going right here. You can kind of see it, not so well on my paper. Well, I need to find out its domain, which is how far left and right it goes. Well, guys, it doesn't go left or right. It's only in one position at x equals 2. So the only x value that will work is x equals 2. Now, range is up and down. But I see this arrow here that means it goes down forever and up forever. If that's the case, it's all real numbers. Now it asks the end if it's a function or not. That would be using the vertical line test. Well, since it's a vertical line, it automatically fails, meaning it is not a function. Okay? Now the next one. Let's just go ahead and look at domain. Remember x value or left to right. Well, I can see here that I go this far left, and that's a solid point, by the way, and I go this far right. So just write those 2 numbers. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -7, and it goes all the way over to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now all the x's are in between that. So negative 7 is less than all my x's, but x is less than 6. If it's an open circle, guys, it's either greater than or less than. And over here we have a closed point. That's also got an equal to sign. So since that closed point's on 6, I'm going to put an equal sign there. Now domain is the same thing, but it's y, so down to up. Well, I can see the lowest I go is 0, and the highest I go is 1, 2, 3, 4. So y is in between those, and it still has these two little symbols. All I have to do is realize which one has the equal sign. Well, the 0 has the solid point, so it has the equal sign. The 4 is open, so it stays the same. Now I can do the vertical line test again here. Looks like each line hits at once. So yes, this is a function. All right, guys, I want to go to the next page, and in the second video we'll get some of this other stuff I missed. I want to look at 32 real quick, a very easy question if you know what it's asking. It says, what are the factors to the polynomial model? So finding the factors, the first thing we need to do is know what these boxes are. I have the big boxes are x squared. The rectangles are x's. Now these bottom two are also x's, but since they're shaded, they're negative x's. And these bottom little squares are 1s, but since they're shaded, they're negative 1s. So once we do that, we can basically add up our parts. I have 2 x squareds. Now I've got 3 positive x's minus 2 x's gives me plus x. And then I have 3 negative 1s, so minus 3. Now it wants the factors of that, so we need to factor it. Remember, you can use your swing method. So we have the sum is going to have to be 1, and the product is going to be negative 6. So I can use 2 and 3 here. Let's see if I make the 2 negative, that works. So I'm going to have x minus 2, x plus 3. Then I need to do my swing. I'm going to have to divide both sides by 2. So I end up with x minus 1. I got to swing that 2 to the front. 2x plus 3. All right. Let's move on to the last page here. I just want to look at number 34. It says factor completely. So I'm going to do number 34, and I want to think, how could I factor this? Well, GCF should be the first thing that comes to mind. It looks like I can take a 3 out of each of them. 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. Now, you may not remember this, but this is difference of squares. If I have a difference of squares, I keep that 3, open up 2 sets of parentheses. The x goes in the first one. The square root of 9 goes in the second, which is 3. I make 1 plus, 1 minus. You might want to make sure you do that. So, guys, that's half the review. I'll have a video up tomorrow of the other half. If you have any questions, come ask me in class. Good luck.